Hello, my name is Wesley Jacobs, retired principal tuba player of the Detroit Symphony Orchestra, currently president of Encore Music Publishers. Your power lesson for today is about articulation. There are several topics that I'd like to cover briefly in this talk about articulation. One in particular would be placement of the tongue. We often think about where the tongue should strike in our mouth as we articulate different notes. And I would suggest that there is no easily defined place where the tongue should strike on any particular note for any particular person. What I'm saying is that everyone has a different shape of their mouth, their teeth are shaped differently, their tongue is shaped differently, maybe a different size, they're using different equipment, different size mouthpiece, and the correct spot for tonguing therefore cannot be defined as one particular spot for everyone. Additionally, you'll find that the tongue will need to strike in a different position for each note of the scale as you go from low to high. For me, I found that when I play high notes, the tongue would want to strike further back in the mouth, and for low notes, it wants to strike further forward. The important thing is that the definition of where the proper position for the tongue for any given note is defined by the sound that you're achieving. So if you practice your articulations and you listen carefully to the sound quality that you're getting, you will adjust, even without thinking about it, you will adjust the entire action of the tongue so it finds what I would call the sweet spot for every note of the scale. We also have to practice multiple tonguing because sometimes we're required to play pieces that are full of repeating notes that are simply too fast to tongue using what we call a single tongue. Two, 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 two. You can only do that to a certain speed, and then you have to do something else. So at that point, the something else becomes multiple tonguing. I won't go into great detail about multiple tonguing, except to say that I multiple tongue in a manner that's a little bit different than what many brass players accept as the standard. And that is this. For triple tonguing, the most standard way to triple tongue is using the syllables tu, tu, ku. Tu, tu, ku. Double tonguing, we use the syllables tu, ku, tu, ku. So you have two different techniques, two different multiple tonguing techniques that you need to learn. That's fine if they work. What I found for me was that using the triple tonguing technique of tu, tu, ku, I ended up with an uneven triplet. I ended up with the second of those notes being a little bit weaker because of the syllable tu being repeated once, tu, tu, ku. So I decided to use my double tonguing in place of triple tonguing. So I really only double tongue. I double tongue tu, ku, tu, ku, tu, ku, and I triple tongue tu, ku, tu, ku, tu, ku. I just turn the syllable around, or I put an accent on one of the kus. The advantage to this is that your triplet can be potentially more even than it can be playing tu, tu, ku, tu, tu, ku. And the disadvantage is that you have to be able to accent the ku in addition to the tu. But actually, if you think about it, you have to do that anyway, because if you're double tonguing, you may have to start a phrase using the ku syllable rather than the tu syllable. So I would suggest that for students that have not yet mastered triple tonguing, that they consider this method before they start working on triple tonguing as a separate technique. If you have a well-developed triple tongue now and it's working fine, then I wouldn't change it. If it's working well, don't fix it. It's not broken. But if you're a young student and you haven't developed this technique, it's a good time to take a step back and analyze and think about what path you're going to go forward on in tonguing. The last brief topic that I would like to address with regard to tonguing is, or actually with articulation, is that you should be very open-minded when you approach a particular phrase that is either slurred or tongued. What you really want to achieve is the sound that the composer was indicating in the piece. In other words, there may be a slur there, and it might sound better, it might sound more slurred if you used a very light legato tongue, like a trombone player would use. There may be times when you may actually slur something that's written articulated, and it might sound more articulated if you slur it. There might be times when you may want to articulate using a valve rather than using your tongue. And by doing that, you could, for instance, go between two alternate fingerings, a fingering of 1 and 2 and a fingering of third valve, which is essentially roughly the same. And by going back and forth really fast, you can let the valves do the articulation for you, breaking the airstream for you. So remain open to using different ideas. Don't be locked into always slurring or always playing with no tongue simply because you see a slur mark. And don't always think that you have to tongue everything even though it may be written articulated. What you really want to be driven by is the final product. You want to be results driven by the final result and not by the process that you use to get there. That was your power lesson for today on articulation. Thank you.